Hello and welcome to Sorry You Went Viral. This is the show, the podcast, all about the stories that have been setting social media alight over the last week, and of course the human impact, what that means to us all as well in the aftermath of it. My name's Hannah.
And I'm Tim, and coming up on the show we'll have What's Gone Viral, and in what it's like to go viral, we're absolutely delighted to be joined by the incredible mum of Laura Nuttall, who I'm sure you've seen the story this week about her death at 23, but about how her mum has used social media, Twitter in particular, to highlight her daughter's bucket list challenges, ticking off her dream things to do before she died. But first up on What's Gone Viral this week. So you may have heard or seen this clip of Gary Neville doing the rounds on, I think particularly on Twitter this week. Let's just play a little bit so you can have a listen.
But what you can have is mini retirements during the year. And that's what I've tried to do. I don't do it very well. So for instance, this weekend, I'm going to Spain Friday till Monday morning. That's like a mini retirement. So
that's a weekend.
It's a weekend. It's a mini retirement. It's where I basically can say for 3 days, I'm there and I'm basically taking it, I don't think about work. Now I will, and sometimes some of my best ideas come when I'm on these types of trips. But then in 6 weeks, I'll have another mini retirement for 5 days.
So the former Man United and England player has been mocked a lot online for talking about what he's termed mini retirements, which, frankly, listening to the clip, you and I would think is just holidays.
It's a holiday.
It is a holiday, but it isn't exactly what it seems. A company have now revealed themselves called the Not Viral Company, revealed exactly what's been going on. Let's have a little listen to what they've got to say.
It was all just part of an experiment. Let me explain. I wanted to test the ability of an AI video editor, so I needed a topic. Gary Neville was perfect, hundreds of videos. So off I went to YouTube and pasted the URL into the AI. It spat out 15 short clips which I uploaded to TikTok, all in 15 minutes work. And just to note, this isn't a recent clip. This was recorded more than 9 months ago. So it shows A, Diary of a CEO doesn't have the reach of the football audience yet, and B, anything can go viral at any time.
So it's extraordinary things here, listening to that clip. Yes, Gary Neville still said something pretty silly, but it wasn't really as silly as it sounded. And I guess it's a lesson for us all, really, about when things are too good to be true, is it really what it seems? I think the tricky thing here was that it was picked up on Twitter by a journalist who, again, we would then automatically think is reliable and trustworthy on this thing, but he got the same reaction as any of us did to the story.
Yeah, clearly, he got played, basically, didn't he? But this actual interview, I think, took place about 9-10 months ago as well. It was on Diary of a CEO, which is the Stephen Bartlett podcast. And they were obviously talking, you can see there the context was they were talking about how you never retire when you love it. You love your job or you love your sport. And Gary Neville's not a professional player anymore, but he's a pundit. He's still very much involved in it all. So, whether mini retirement or just a long weekend, Gary, come on. But yeah, it just goes to show that anything can go viral, and it's quite frightening to think. I mean, think of the amount of recordings that we've done, Tim, on this. That all it would take is for some sort of clever AI to go through it all, take something completely out of context. You would have all sorts of silly things and memes about us going around, I'm sure. So he probably feels a bit silly, but it's been massive on social media, right?
Yeah, but 8 million, over 8 million views for that. This Euronews' journalist tweet alone. I haven't seen too much pickup of, again, like these things happen. The original story is better than the truth.
Yeah.
And more interesting. But again, I searched last night, mini retirement Gary Neville just dominated all the memes and mocking. Poor Gary.
The guy will never be able to go on holiday ever again without being mocked about it. How's your mini retirement going, Gary? Is it all right? Anyway, moving on, slightly more kind of serious story, I guess. A teenage TikTok star, a sort of so-called prankster, has been fined now for entering someone's home without asking their permission to do so. Apparently there's a sort of a trend on TikTok of doing this. Now, the guy's name, he's 18 years old. He's called Mizzy. That's his sort of TikTok name or whatever. He's since had his TikTok account suspended, but then mainstream media kind of like picked up on it all as well. So maybe we can just play a little bit of what have we got here? We're not going to show the crime itself because we don't want to be kind of seen to be publicizing that, but we've got perhaps some clips of him talking to, is this to Piers Morgan?
Yeah, that's right. Let's have a little listen.
Okay,
you went through their door, right? But it's not your house. You're not supposed to be in there.
Oh, no shit.
You are causing a lot of alarm to that poor woman and to her children who are in the house. You then terrorize this poor elderly woman and take her dog away and traumatize her.
So the story about that. Hang on. Let me speak. Yeah, because no. Let me speak. No.
I'm going to tell you.
Let me talk about that situation.
No, for the viewers wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
For the viewers who don't know what you've done,
hold up.
I'm going to tell them.
Hold up.
No, you hold on.
Right now.
No, you can hold on.
Right now.
I'm explaining.
So as you can see there, Piers Morgan on his Talk TV show, he had Mizzy come into the studio, and it ended up being kind of like just a shouting match between the two of them, of Piers saying, I just think you're an idiot, and Mizzy saying, well, I think you're an idiot too. Not particularly enlightening or useful to any viewers, arguably. But yeah, it's just an interesting one, isn't it? Because now that everyone else has piled in, even though he's had his TikTok account suspended, he's getting so much publicity for these kind of antics, even though there's just a criminal case now. And you were telling me earlier you think he's now active on other platforms as well. So it's just like, at what point do you stop kind of giving airtime and giving, fueling the fire of this kind of stuff with young kids? He's still a kid. He's 18.
I think it's really interesting, and it's something we thought about talking about on this show. Do we talk about it or not?
Yeah.
I think it's important. It's someone who has gone viral this week, or for several weeks, should we say. It was only the being convicted this week, where it came to being arrested and then convicted this week. So, do we ignore him? Do we report him? I think, like a lot of these things, these pranksters and TikTok stars like that, interest will wane. But again, the danger is for him, and I feel a bit sorry for him because clearly, it's more than just mucking about here. But does he go to more and more extreme levels? On Twitter this week, we saw him basically surfing on a London bus. And this is the danger: is go to more and more extremes to get clout online, and where does that end?
Yeah, watch this space.
Indeed. Next up, I don't know whether you found anything interesting on the side of the street at all.
I found it very useful to me, at least at the time. I found a child seat that was in great condition, because obviously kids grow really quickly and they go through car seats all the time. And so I found one and quickly swiped it. I mean, it did have a notice on it saying, please take me for free. And I was like, well, lovely. I will do that straight away. But no, I've never found, that was probably worth, I don't know, in a region of about 50 quid or something like that. So still great, but not in the same kind of category as this next item. You have to tell us the story on this.
Yes, so this story's gone viral, particularly in the US. Now, the woman whose username is hard to work out, her real name, is Yafav Manda on TikTok, so maybe Amanda. But basically, she claims to have found a couch worth around $8,000, I should say, on the side of a street. And she's documented this on TikTok, from finding it to fumigating it to then it sitting in her flat. Let's have a little watch.
Hi guys, this is me finding an $8,000 couch in the middle of the street. Here's a quick story time. It was pouring raining and I was walking home and I saw this couch in the middle of the street and I called my dad begging him to come pick it up because I couldn't just leave that couch there. He told me no, it was not possible. But then he surprised me and showed me that he did pick up the couch and he had it in his work office. But the couch was very dirty, so he said we had to clean it. So we got all the things we needed to clean it: some soap, water, a vacuum.
An amazing little story. Good on her. I mean, I can see why people are a bit suspicious, but there has been a lot of kind of a bit of a backlash, jealousy, nastiness online, particularly again like we've talked before, when these TikTok videos get transferred over to Twitter, there tends to be a different reaction and much more actual increased focus on the tweets. I mean, interestingly, the original video on TikTok got 60 million views, still amazing.
Astonishing.
On Twitter, when someone posted it saying, "Why am I never this lucky finding anything like this on the side of the street?" It's got 110 million views. But again, she's faced a bit of a backlash to it, and she's addressed some of her critics in another TikTok video.
Everyone's saying that the couch was thrown out because of bed bugs or whatever species or semen. Sorry. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I personally think it was thrown out because it has a lot of rips that I've covered with pillows, and it has some stains. I don't know if you could tell. It has some stains there, and it has like a few tears over there. That's why I think it personally was thrown out. Y'all can think whatever y'all want.
So she clearly feels there's been a bit of an overreaction. Certainly, as you said before, Tim, she's had a bit of a backlash, whether it's jealousy or just people not believing it. She's there being completely honest about the fact that, yes, I did find this sofa, this couch. Yes, it was potentially worth, a lot of money. So lucky me, but it's not in tip top condition. So back off, haters, basically. And well done her. I hope she can rest her bum on it for many a year to come.
Next up, a story you may have seen, particularly on sports sites and accounts this week, of Jeff Stelling, who you may know is the host of Soccer Saturday on Sky Sports here in the UK. And he did a little piece, not talking about football, but talking about eating disorders and calling on the government to do more to help those suffering with eating disorders and their families. And this clip has gone viral this week. Let's show you it.
Eating disorders are being swept under the carpet. No one should be dying of an eating disorder in 2023. Those with eating disorders need action and help. They need it now. It's half time at Tottenham.
So, I mean, astonishing what he's talking about, really, the content of what he's saying and how he's using his very, very powerful platform of being, as I understand it, the outgoing host of Soccer Saturday, a very, very prominent sports broadcaster. And what he's talking about is in relation to a campaign called Dump the Scales, which is essentially saying that the current regulations and public health policy in this country, in the UK, is that people are classed as not thin enough, which just seems completely bonkers, of course. And therefore they need to go and potentially lose even more weight in order to get the necessary care. And then it's a horrible spiral. Now, I just think it's astonishing that, I have no idea whether Jeff has anyone in his life who has been personally or directly affected by an eating disorder. But what an amazing thing to do. Presumably he thought that by talking about it on this platform, be it TV, that he would just reach his many, many thousands, millions of viewers. But what's happened, of course, is that it then got picked up by Sky latterly, but also by other people who just recorded him doing this on one of his final payoffs. And then it went viral as well. And he's had so much gratitude and support from people who have been directly involved in the Dump the Scales campaign, but also people who've had eating disorders and maybe still currently do, to say that we're the forgotten ones, and it's 2023, for goodness sake.
Yeah, you can see in the clip that, or you can hear, even if you're listening just on podcast platforms, he's very moved by this. I think it goes to, you asked about whether he's got the personal connection. One of the reporters, female reporters on the show, has been very public in her eating disorder troubles. And you can just hear his emotion in his voice. Yeah. It clearly means a lot to him. And yes, you said, I think it's really good to see where, appropriate to take a stand on issues and highlighting it to an audience who may not really be aware of this happening. And I think that's great to see.
Yeah, it's really super powerful to speak to essentially a load of soccer fans, football fans, about this, when probably none of them were expecting to hear this message. And yet everyone's now talking about it, and not just then football fans in this country, but then it obviously goes out on social media as well, and that gets viewed then for the whole world to see, which is incredibly powerful. So kudos to him.
Next up, I don't know if you ever said I love you to a random stranger.
Well, I mean, my husband might be listening to this or watching this, so I don't make a habit of it, let's put it like that. But I am quite kind of kiss, kiss, kiss in the end of text messages. And you know what it's like. You've got kids and work, you're busy working, and I'm constantly sort of sending emails and messages on the go. So there have been a few slips of the thumb, and you sort of think, oh my God, how do I get myself out of this? Unfortunately, I've got my phone set to unsend email. So I think I've got something like 15 seconds to realise the error of my ways. But
this guy we're going to talk about next, a guy called Mark. I don't know much about him. He's in his early 20s. He basically did just that. He was having a text conversation with an electrician being sent over by his landlord. And without thinking, he replied to a text thinking he was responding to his girlfriend, but actually it was to the electrician and saying, I love you. And he does what everyone would do. He panicked. But instead of just, dealing with it privately, he thought, I know, I'm going to post it on Twitter. So he posted the conversation on Twitter, saying, help, he's over in 10 minutes. What do I do?
And obviously this got picked up then by loads and loads of people saying, oh, I've been there too, mate. Oh, just fess up or roll with it. See if he might say, I love you back or whatever it is. And I think it turned out, I mean, he gave us an update later on. He said, soundest labourer I've ever had in a gap. I was intending on saying, bye, love you, as he was leaving as a joke. But he fucking said it first. Legend. Which is just so good. And I think we've already shown the text message conversation between them as well, when he was just like, love you too, mate. It's just absolutely brilliant. So fair play to him for to the electrician for kind of like being, I mean, the amount of times, if your business is based on text messages back and forth with strangers, the amount of like missed texts they must have got over the course of an average week, it's probably off the scale already. So and also, who doesn't want to ever hear that they're loved?
Next on what it's like to go viral. The whole country, I'd say, has been moved this week by the sad news of the death of Laura Nuttall, who died aged 23. You may remember she was diagnosed with a brain cancer at just 18, told she had 12 months to live, and then has documented an amazing bucket list of achievements over the last few years, from meeting Michelle Obama to dancing on stage with Peter Kay to commanding a Royal Navy ship, and my favourite, doing the weather on BBC Northwest Tonight.
Her diagnosis didn't stop her from living life to the full and completing a bucket list of ambitions. She presented the weather.
Let's have a look at the pressure chart for today.
Met Michelle Obama, captained a Royal Navy ship.
I never got the chance to get my uniform or actually go on a boat, and now I am piloting a ship.
Carried the Commonwealth Games baton and graduated from the University of Manchester.
I've been to South Africa, went on a safari, been to New York. Just had some good times despite having a brain tumour. And that's what I'm going to carry on doing, living life to the fullest, because when it feels like it's getting taken away from you, you realise how much you've not actually lived. Sure, everyone's got a life, but are they actually out there living it? Or are they just waiting for tomorrow?
It was all documented online on Twitter by her mum, Nicola, on her account, Shit Scared Mum. And, who wouldn't be, frankly? And she joins us now. Nicola, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Oh, thank you for asking me.
Yeah, we're so grateful that we get the opportunity to speak to you, not just to kind of reflect on Laura's life, of course, and the impact that she had on continues to have on all of us, but also the fact that you've used social media so effectively to highlight what she's been through, what you've been through as a family, the achievements that you've had remarkably over the last couple of years with the bucket list that Tim just mentioned as well. So if I may, I'd love to ask you about the social media side of things. You know, at its best, social media kind of drives human connection, and it somehow makes the world seem a bit smaller. Did Laura know how many people you could potentially reach and how much awareness you could bring by using Twitter predominantly?
I don't think we did at the start, definitely, because we started from zero, and I was just literally screaming into the abyss because there were things I wanted to say, and I wanted to just howl at the unfairness of the situation. And it began like that, and I just was it was just very warts and all about how hard it was and how angry I was and how frustrated I was. And then what happened is people wanted to help. So from very early on, people were saying, well, what can we do? Is there anything she'd like to do? Anything she'd like to see? And it was around that time that we thought, well, we're going to start a bucket list, because otherwise life becomes about chemo and radio and being sick and nothing else really. So we thought, well, if we can intersperse the grim stuff with some really happy things, then that will help to just get through the tough times. And it's also things that you can then reflect upon when things are tough. You can look back on the photographs and go, remember when we did this? And so we started off with a bucket list, and it was shared, and it got quite a lot of traction, which was brilliant. And then other people were contacting me saying, I can't help with anything on the bucket list, but do you fancy doing this? Or do you want to come and see this? And do you want to come to this event? And it just created its own momentum. So, and I probably was too honest. And certainly Gracie would say, oh my God, Mum, you're so embarrassing. Why are you saying these things? But I felt that it was important that you shared the good bits as well as the bad bits. And certainly in the last few weeks and months, it's been a lot of bad bits, and people have been really supportive. And I've been literally sharing the death of my daughter as opposed to the life. So that it was all a bit grim, but it's been great that we've been able to share things like the Euros and going fishing with Bob Mortimer and Paul Whitehouse and going to South Africa and things we did at Saturday Night Live. So we've done amazing things. It's been the most roller coaster of roller coasters, really, because the highs have been incredible, but the lows have been pretty bleak. And if you were to read it all in one go, my God, I think you'd need to have a lie down afterwards, because there's a lot. It's been a lot, really.
And I heard Laura once say in an interview that knowledge is power. And I wonder now, when you sort of reflect back on the social media presence, the phenomenon that is your daughter as well, and the interest that's there, whether the primary focus of it has really been about spreading awareness about the disease, or whether it's been also about raising funds as well, not just for charity, but also for Laura's treatment over the course of the last couple of years. What's been the most sort of useful part, I suppose, of social media?
Well, I think to start with, it was quite selfish. It was for my benefit, and that was it. But then we did so much research, or I was just poring over the internet all the time to try and find out what we could do to make things better for Laura. So we found various treatments, we spoke to lots of people, and then through social media, people were contacting me to find out how Laura was looking so well and how she'd outlived her 12-month prognosis. So then it became a vehicle for sharing the information. So we ended up setting up our own website page and a Facebook support group. And when people were contacting me, I was feeding them into our support group, and I was sharing them lots of information so that I could save them some time, because everybody is going through this laborious process of trying to find a cure, trying to find treatment. Then we're all just wasting the same amount of time non-stop. So it became a tool to actually contact other people and for other people to contact me. And after I set up the account, Laura became an ambassador for the brain tumour charity. So then it became about fundraising as well. So it started off as one thing, and then it's morphed into other things as time's gone on. And lots of people have contacted me to say, my family member or friend has this disease, and this happened to me. And the stories are horrific, because the treatment is really poor and hasn't changed in decades. So now it's becoming more campaigning and trying to improve things, because it is the biggest cancer killer of children and adults under 40, and it gets 2% of cancer funding. So how on earth can that not be something I need to shout about and world? Because it's only when you find yourself in this situation that you are bowled over by the unfairness of it all.
And you said at the beginning there that it was almost a selfish thing for you. I guess in terms of the emotional support, you must be kind of like in awe and just of the support that you've had from both celebrities, people in the public eye, but also just random strangers as well. And I wonder whether you feel like now that Laura's passed, whether this is a really helpful way for you to honour her memory. I know certainly when my father died, I just wanted to talk about him non-stop. I didn't have social media available to me then, but I wonder this gives you so much opportunity to talk about your beloved daughter.
Yeah, and I probably will do that till people get bored of me.
Yeah.
There are lots of stories, there's lots of photographs, and if that is a vehicle that I can help to push change, then I'm absolutely going to do that, and that's what she would expect me to do, more importantly. And if I didn't do that, she'd be absolutely furious. It's been really lovely because people have contacted me. That there was a girl that I'd never heard her name before, but she was at school with Laura, and she messaged me via Twitter to say that when she was being bullied at high school, Laura was really kind to her, and she knew she was interested in poetry, and Laura bought her a poetry book and always made sure she was included and sat with her. And I would never have known that otherwise. And I was so touched that she reached out like that to me. So, it's great that celebrities are following or whatever, but actually somebody contacted me to tell me that was just so moving. And I guess it's that broad gamut of information. But Laura also wrote a letter. She was asked by a primary school at the bottom of the road, Barrowford School, which actually has also gone viral previously with the letter that it sent out. But every year they get somebody to write a letter to their year 6 children, and it tells them, don't worry about exams, there's more to life than that. So Alistair Campbell's done it, Sean Dyche, various other people, and they asked Laura last year, and that letter that she wrote has gone all around South America. So I've had messages in the last few days from Brazil and from Costa Rica from teachers telling me that they read that letter out to the kids in their school, and that's quite mind-blowing.
It's astonishing as well, and I'm sure that Laura would be so incredibly proud as well of what's been achieved over the last couple of years, and also what you're carrying on. So with that in mind, what happens next for you? I mean, there's obviously a huge amount of grieving and time with your family. This is all so recent in a way, but what happens next? What's your plan?
Well, we are arranging a celebration of her life. She wouldn't have wanted a formal funeral, so she's having an unattended cremation. Her brain is actually being donated this afternoon to research.
Wow.
I probably can't think too hard about it because I'll be a puddle on the floor, but it's what she wanted, and it was, very much we were campaigning for better research, and you can't do that without the raw materials for that research. And it's all very well talking about how important it is, but you have to walk the walk as well. And that's very much Laura's attitude, that we have to do it. We have to get on with it. So that's happening today. This afternoon, we're going to go and find a place to have her memorial, which will be a celebration of her life. We're even thinking of having a music festival in the summer if we can pull it off in time. But in terms of where we go in for Laura's legacy, we do have some money left from her treatment fund, and I need to work out how best to utilise that. So I've actually signed up for the British Neuro-Oncology Society conference, which is in July, that I'm attending with the Our Brain Bank charity, and we're very much campaigning to improve things for people in the future, because Laura never got upset about her diagnosis. She never once cried and said it was not fair and why me. It just wasn't her style. But the thing that got her was when we lost somebody else. That's when she got upset, and that's when she wanted to punch things. And I just don't want other families to go through what we've been through, because it's horrific. And the last few weeks, as anyone who's read my Twitter will have seen, caring for somebody who loses every aspect of themselves, that's hard. Is hard. It's hard, and the images stay with you, and it's difficult. And I don't want anyone else to go through that with their child specific, because it's brutal. So whatever we can do, whether it's trying to fund freezers in hospitals so that they can actually store tumour tissue, whether it's equipment, or whether it's helping individual families in some small way, we haven't decided yet, and we're not going to rush into it. We need to just kind of take stock and work out the best way of doing it. But I will do everything I can to make sure I continue with Laura's legacy of change and improvement in the system.
Well, Nicola, you said, I think on your Twitter as well, you said it was the honour of your life to be her mum. And I can't think of a more beautiful, beautiful tribute. Thank you so much for sharing your daughter with the world. This podcast is called Sorry You Went Viral. We're not at all sorry that Laura's story has gone viral, because I think by the sounds of it, it's exactly what she would have wanted, and what has obviously made you so proud of her and of the whole family, no doubt, as well. We are so sorry, though, for your loss. Thank you so much for talking to us, Nicola.
Thank you. Thank you for talking to me.
Nicola, just before we finish, just for those who are listening or watching who want to get involved, I know you're working out the next steps, but how can people donate money to help fund this research?
Well, we still have our GoFundMe Doing It for Laura page up and running, so donations that go into there will be funneled in the right way. But we're working with a charity called Our Brain Bank, that's OUR Brain Bank, and also the Brain Tumour Charity, who do a lot to support families like ours. So both of those charities are doing amazing work in different ways to help people with a glioblastoma diagnosis.
Thank you very much again, Nicola. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally on the show, time for the timeline cleanser. And this one's brilliant. We all think our children are amazing and can do everything, but this kid has really, he's so talented. 6-year-old boy called Miles, and he's received praise from a ton of famous DJs and musicians for his remixes of their songs. He's gone viral on TikTok for this. His parents have been filming him and managing his accounts. He's got nearly 900,000 followers on here. So basically what he does is little videos explaining what he's doing to change the songs, change the tempos, adding little bits in. And they are amazing remixes. Let's play a little bit so you get a flavour of what he can do.
Now, let's see. I just put the velocity up to 110, and then, cause I let's quantize these to 8th notes. And there we go. Okay, I've ended up getting my clap real good. Get like this every time. All these heartbreak kind of me. Cause heartbreak kind of do you ever think? And there's my whole song.
So what you just saw there was a remix of Heartbreak Anniversary by Giveon. It's already had 13 million views and counting, which is amazing. I mean, you said, obviously, this kid, Miles, is absolutely brilliant and a genius. But, you know, you said at the beginning there, Tim, we all think our kids are geniuses. And like Sonny actually is my son is actually quite good with music. And, you know, we had a very, very heavy Freddie Mercury phase for about 7 months where I was happy to sort of dive into Queen and go back through the archives. But now I'm thinking maybe I should be like this momager who's kind of getting his TikTok account ready and giving him all of the decks and everything like that so he can properly explore it all, because these parents are onto something. They are already giving him a head start in life. He's clearly talented, but they've set his career up already. But gorgeous to watch. As you say, this is the part of the show which is a timeline cleanse, a moment of mindfulness, if you like. And it's lovely just to see a 6-year-old, just for the pure love of doing what he's good at, pure love of creativity, just remixing all of these great tunes for the rest of us.
And also what's lovely as well is Giveon has posted a TikTok duet of him watching the video and seeing the reaction, and he goes crazy when he hits the beat or whatever they call it nowadays. I'm too old for us. Also, Mark Ronson, the producer.
I do know who he is.
And yeah, exactly. He's called Miles a future hitmaker, genius, and my hero.
Aww.
Here's the kind of sobering bit. In his music class, Miles only got a B.
What?
So please, clearly his teachers think he's
room for improvement.
Room
for improvement. Indeed. My goodness. Well, they're obviously not amongst his 900,000 followers on TikTok, but maybe they should be. I'd feel pretty embarrassed if I was his music teacher.
Right, that's all we've got time for on this week's show. Please do follow us on social platforms on Sorry You Went Viral, or rate and review the podcasts or the YouTube videos, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.